Alright, what is going on, you guys? Brian here, and this is my recap of NWA Power Hour, NWA Power, and AEW Dark that took place yesterday on YouTube. Both shows being shown on YouTube on Tuesdays. And then my recap of tonight's AEW Dynamite, the third episode. So let's just get right into this quick recap. On last night's NWA Power, or yesterday's NWA Power, we saw some segments, or interview segments, with NWA National Champion James Storm, which would be interrupted by Eli Drake. Basically, Eli made it clear that James Storm should go for the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Title. He should take that, and then, just remember who gave him the suggestion and give him a favor in return. We also had an appearance in an interview segment with Aaron Stevens, who, for those of you that don't know who Aaron Stevens is, he used to be Damian Sandow in the WWE. He also had some appearances on Impact Wrestling a while back. He did an interview yesterday on NWA Power, so that was pretty interesting. As far as matches are concerned, we had Ricky Starks going one-on-one with Trevor Murdoch. Ricky Starks picked up the victory. In tag team action, we had Colt Cabana and Mr. Anderson taking on Sal Rinauro and Jordan Kingsley. Colt Cabana and Mr. Anderson picked up the victory in that one. We had the NWA Women's Champion, Allison Kay. She defeated Ashley Vox. And in the tag team title match, the NWA World Tag Team title match, the Wild Cards. I know it's. I forget what the name of it is. I know one of them used to be Bram from Impact Wrestling. They defended against Eddie Kingston and Homicide. That ended in a draw when the Dawsons got involved and caused the match to be a draw. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what happens in the tag team division as far as the NWA World Tag Titles are concerned. Then, on yesterday's AEW Dark, one of the matches that I would recommend checking out was a unsanctioned match between Joey Janela, Bad Boy Joey Janela, and Kenny Omega. That was the main event of that show, of that episode yesterday. And that was a really good match. I watched it, and I thought it was really an entertaining matchup. A lot of weapons being involved. But in the end, it was Omega with the one-winged angel on the steel chair that picked him up the W for himself. So, big victory yesterday on AEW Dark. Of course, that show is basically all the dark matches that take place, I believe, after or before AEW Dynamite. So, I'm starting to really like that show, as well as NWA Power on Tuesdays. So, basically, now we turn to tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. We saw two more teams advance in the AEW Tag Team Title Tournament. Of course, last week, Private Party picked up a huge victory, eliminating the Young Bucks. So they advance in the tournament. Next week, they're going to be taking on the Lucha Bros, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But this week's episode seemed like a tag team match episode, because there was like maybe two one-on-one matches. The rest of the matches were tag team matches. The first match was SCU taking on Best Friends. Trent and Chucky T. SCU was represented by Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, who originally was not going to be in this tournament, but the Lucha Bros took out Christopher Daniels when Daniels and Kazarian were making their way to the ring. Basically, this stems from, I believe, last week or the week before, when they had that altercation on stage, and they took out Daniels Pentagon took out Daniels with the package pile driver on the ramp, and thus that took him out of the match. Scorpio Sky came out and chased off Lucha Bros, and he basically told the ref, "Let me take his place. Let me take his place. Let me do it." So it was Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian who suffered, some blows to the back by Ray Phoenix of the Lucha Bros, and he fought it out. He toughed it out, and they picked up the win over Chucky T and Trent, the best friends. So SCU advances in the tournament, and they'll be competing next week against Dark Order, who received a bye because of their win at, I believe it was All Out. So that'll be interesting to see what happens next week with that one. Speaking of tag team action, we had Santana and Ortiz, part of Chris Jericho's new group, the Inner Circle. They were in action. They picked up the victory over a jobber tag team, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. They did a segment about Cody and having basically a lot of things on his mind as far as the big world title match coming up, where he'll be challenging for the AEW World Championship at Full Gear on pay-per-view on November 9th against Chris Jericho. Speaking of championships, we had Rio, the current AEW Women's Champion. She defended her title against Britt Baker, DMD, and this one was actually really good, in my opinion. I thought this one was really good. I thought the match with SCU and the Best Friends was really good, but I thought this women's match was really good. Any time that Rio steps in that ring, people are probably thinking that she's going to lose. She's probably going to lose because given her that she's only 98 pounds. Britt Baker, she made one mistake. She went for her submission, for that submission she does. I forget what the name of it is. Something with the it's like not like a Rings of Saturn, but like a version of it where she locks the opponent, but then she takes her hand and puts it in the opponent's mouth and that's how she makes them tap. But she went for that move. She got it in. She locked it in, but Rio reversed it into a pinning combination and pinned her 1-2-3. So Rio is still the AEW Women's World Champion. I mentioned the Lucha Bros earlier. They took on Jurassic Express, Marco Stunt, and Jungle Boy. It was supposed to be Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, but Luchasaurus suffered a thigh injury. So he was being evaluated at a hospital, so he was not able to compete. Thus, Marco Stunt, who, honestly, I feel sorry for every time that he gets in that ring, because when they put him in that ring, it's like you're just thinking, oh, this guy's gonna get the beating of his life. But he hung in there until the end when Pentagon and Phoenix hit their double stomp and package pile driver to score the win. So Lucha Bros advanced, and this was a AEW World Tag Title first round match. So they advance. They're going to face next week Private Party. I'm honestly thinking that it's going to be Lucha Bros versus SCU in the finals, just based on what happened in that earlier in the night, as well as I think it was like the first or second episode. So then we had Jon Moxley and Pac in a tag team match against Adam Page and Kenny Omega. This one, pretty good, somewhat. It had a lot of different elements as far as feuds were concerned. Of course, Moxley and Omega are going to go one-on-one at Full Gear. And of course, for those who watch AEW, know about the history between Pac and Adam Page. This one basically came down to Moxley and Omega had weapons. Omega pulled out the broom with the barbed wire around the top part. Then Moxley would go on the other side of the ring and pull out a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. He would get the Moxley would get the advantage. Was looking to hit Omega with the bat, but then Pac came in and hit or threw the broom out of the ring, grabbed the bat out of Moxley's hand, threw that out of the ring, started getting in Moxley's face about using his head, thinking about that he'd get disqualified if he used that weapon. And Moxley was like, you know what? I don't care. Boom! Hit him with the what I call dirty deeds. I forgot what the name of his finisher was. I'm sorry, guys. If anyone knows the name of it, please leave in the comments below. But Moxley hit Pac with that. And that left Pac all by himself. Moxley would leave the ring and leave Pac by himself, and that allowed Omega and Hangman Page to finish him off and pick up the W. I did forget to mention, before I forget that after Santana and Ortiz won their match, Jericho would appear on the Tron, and basically said that Santana and Ortiz wanted to be the best, so they issue a challenge to the Young Bucks for Full Gear. Hopefully the Young Bucks accept that challenge. I would love to see that matchup. So we'll have to wait and see. And speaking of Chris Jericho, he was in the main event defending his AEW World Championship against Darby Allin in a Philadelphia street fight. This one was pretty good. Darby Allin, really impressive. Jericho, living legend, proved once again why he, how dirty he can be as far as winning. Near the end of the match, he would tape Darby's hands behind his back and start beating him up, but that didn't stop Darby Allin, but it was Jake Hager, the former Jack Swagger. He would get involved and hit Darby Allin when Darby was about to hit a big move off the top rope, and that allowed Jericho to lock in the walls of Jericho on Darby Allin and made him submit. So, big victory and a big title defense by the AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. Now his attention turns to November 9th when he defends against Cody. So overall, tonight's AEW Dynamite I thought was really good. I haven't watched NXT yet, so I'll probably watch that tomorrow. I DVR'd it. Yeah, AEW Dynamite was pretty good this week. So was AEW Dark, as I mentioned. Omega versus Joey Janela. I'd recommend checking that out. And NWA Power is another show I would recommend checking out. I thought that was pretty good as well for any old school fans of the National Wrestling Alliance. So, with that being said, if you guys watched any of these episodes from yesterday for NWA Power or AEW Dark, as well as tonight's AEW Dynamite, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. This has been my recap. I am Brian, and Thank you for watching.